So let us be clear. This is a state. There's another incident at a place called Crawl. 4 people dead. They say, again, the police always in Jamaica are involved in shootouts. They say that they arrived on the scene and the 4 people opened fire at them. Not a thing, no so. All of the people who were in the vicinity say that that is not how it went. They say that the police, first of all, shot 2 of the men outside the building, and then, unprovoked, and then took 2 of the remainders, one of them a woman, inside. They let go a child, the daughter of one of the people, and then executed them inside of the place. Right? That is Jamaica. That is what the state does. And it does it, and usually, frequently, almost invariably, gets away with it. The 7 deaths that I was speaking about earlier, of course the police were taken to court. The prosecution, it's a state prosecuting its own. So it was very half-hearted, right? And the policemen got off, right? The policemen got off. The state was not interested in convicting its own of murder. But murder it was. And the evidence that it was murder, extrajudicial, is there in the concrete and in the other forms of evidence, in the evidence on the bodies of those who were shot. This is happening on a daily basis in Jamaica. Now, since we're into the lurid, what was Tivoli about? Tivoli Gardens, that shooting. The US is involved here again. It looks innocent, but not so innocent when you know the story. They sent down to Jamaica an extradition warrant for a man called Dudus Coke. Right? Now, who is this man Coke? He hasn't been convicted of anything yet. But I am unhesitant in telling you the story. This is a man who inherited from his father something that we in Jamaica call a donship, control of a local area, using that control for extortion, for drug running, and for a whole series of other nefarious activities. The man's father was set up in part by the government of the US in the 1970s as part of the process of fighting Michael Manley's PNP. This is a documented fact. So Coke has a historic relationship with the government of the US, Dudus. They watch their agent do their thing. We saw it in Panama with Noriega, right? They use you. We saw it in Iraq with Saddam. Saddam was their man, you know. Saddam was their man right up until the end, which is why he acted in the way that he did, particularly in the invasion of Kuwait. Saddam never believed that after all he'd done for these people, and after checking out with them whether they would object to Kuwait, that when they said get out of Kuwait, they were serious. Because it did nothing for them. He had fought a murderous war against Iran for them. Right? So, when they're ready for you, then we'll come. So nobody serve them in the belief that that will give you immunity. Again, in Jamaican parlance, not a thing no go so. If they need to come for you, they will. And so they had come for Dudus Coke. And you need to understand that this was a man who had resources. Not just the resources from the illegal goings-on around possibly guns, certainly coke, certainly ganja, weed, marijuana, and certainly extortion rackets downtown. This is a man who was also something that we call a construction don. And these construction dons are people who have very close relationships with the two dominant parties, the Jamaica Labour Party and the People's National Party. Coke was a don of the PNP. What is more, the former Prime Minister of Jamaica, as in Jamaica at the time, came on television and told the nation that the reason why, and I should have said this earlier, when the warrant for Dudus was sent down by the US, when it arrived in Jamaica, the Jamaican government opposed it. They said to the Americans, you can't send this. It's not properly legally based, etc., etc. How can you want to take our man out of here? You can't really want that. And they were paying money, good money, to a legal firm up here to try to get the warrant overturned. Mr. Seaga came on, former Prime Minister of Jamaica, longtime leader of the Jamaica Labour Party, and told the Jamaican people that more than 70 people, well over 100 in fact, had been killed in Tivoli. He knew. He told us something else. He said, you're wondering why our Prime Minister was backing the gangster Don man Coke? Well, he was backing him because he was in hock to him. Coke had been the man who engineered Bruce Golding into becoming MP in that area of West Kingston that he, the Don man, controlled. Seaga said, me, Seaga, wanted somebody else to have the seat, and he named the person. And he said that Coke, Dudus Coke, forbade it, and said, the person who I want to be here as MP is Bruce Golding, it's him to come, not anybody else. And come he did. So he's the MP, getting all kinds of the Dons recycling their money into his coffers, not necessarily his personal pocket, and into the pocket of his party, enabling them to win the last election. That was not the only source of the money. And so, obviously, when the US declared themselves ready for Coke, his Jamaican links were not ready to send him up here. And they resisted it forlornly, and eventually they abandoned it. But in the process of using his ill-gotten gains, Coke had produced relationships of dependency with all kinds of Jamaican people, ordinary, nice, decent people in West Kingston. Coke had also, so it is alleged, invited Jamaicans with guns to come into Tivoli to help defend him against the government. Now, the Jamaican government is not superbly efficient, but you need to be sure that you better not be planning to take them on in positional warfare, because they have enough firepower, and Britain and the US and Canada have ensured that they have it. So when Coke's people barricaded themselves into West Kingston, the Jamaican state had enough helicopters supplied from somewhere up here and enough armored troop carriers supplied from somewhere up here to go into West Kingston as soon as they were ready. I don't think a single shot was fired at them when they went in by then. And importantly, it hasn't quite come out yet, but the people killed, over 70 or over 100, in that little encounter, will be found to have been shot in the head or the back at very, very close range. Right? The state was burying the bodies in the nearby cemetery. And I personally saw a policeman come onto the television and said it was a state of emergency and we were entitled to bury as many of the bodies that we decided to. State of emergency, we have absolute power. So, the absence of the death penalty in Jamaica makes no difference to the capacity of the state to destroy who it wills. Right? And so, the story that I have told you explains why the surface state of affairs, presence or absence of death penalty, may not actually matter, and that we need to understand the underlying reality. We need to see how, in this moment of the most serious crisis that capitalist imperialism has ever been under, the most serious. People read, you know that people like Paul Volcker and others, George Soros, are busy telling us in all kinds of prestigious places that they cannot assure themselves or anybody else that the plans and actions of the state now, the capitalist system now, are up to the task of saving it from the capacity, from the effects of the idiocy that the system itself, its financial sector, engaged in over the last period, right? Its very best brains cannot assure itself, themselves or us, that what they're trying to do to save the system will work. I suspect that it's not going to work. And we Africans have to understand that this represents an opportunity, a political opportunity. We must not act in an adventurous way, but we must be doing what we were called upon by Garvey and by the best figures of the left, including Karl Marx, to do, which is to organize to win freedom against the system of oppression. I want to leave it there. Thank you.